You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 179.5, our boys basketball report. Lapel at Shenandoah on Friday, February 14th, 2025, with Rob Hunt of the Herald-Bulletin.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome back, Rob Hunt. Lapel is on fire.
Yes, that would be a safe adjective to use, safe describing phrase. 9 in a row, and the last 4 on the road, and they
No
have not
easy
looked.
opponents in that.
I'm sorry.
And no easy opponents, not very
I was
many at least.
exactly my next point was that a lot of those have been against some pretty tough teams. Tipton, and tonight was Shenandoah, and uh, I don't have their schedule in front of me, but yeah, there were some attention grabbing wins in that stretch, and they're playing at a very, very high level. And a lot of those wins are pretty convincing. I mean, not they're not squeaking by. They're beating teams pretty handily. I think Lapel is fast becoming one of those teams we need to look for when the postseason rolls around.
Yeah, I was looking at the sectional, and I don't know if sometimes teams like Tipton and Lapel play each other. I don't know how much it's going to mean the first
Mhm.
time around, but if it is true that Lapel is better than Tipton, it looks like they're the best team in the sectional.
Yeah, and I wouldn't sleep on Frankton either. Frankton's
No,
playing pretty
true.
well too.
True.
I think
Yeah,
they were 5-9 at one point. I believe they've won 6 or 7 in a row, or 7 of 8, or something like that.
true.
And
They were
uh,
4-8, and they've won 7 in a row.
there you go. And tonight they go on the road and pull out one in overtime. Always a tough conference game up at Mississinawa, and did it without their point guard. It sounds like so. That sectional is really interesting because you figure Tipton's still going to be competitive with Lapel and Frankton.
Absolutely.
Um,
Taylor.
Taylor's one of those teams that Lapel beat. Frankton got him the other night too. So there's going to be a lot of teams out there looking for payback
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, Taylor.
So yeah, that might be one. That's suddenly shaping up to be maybe one of our more interesting sectionals.
It really is, and Taylor is. They held off Tri Central tonight to end
Mm-hmm.
a 4-game losing streak, but all those teams are good. And Rob, those juniors, those 3 juniors, are so good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wenham's a sophomore, maybe, that they could beat any of those teams on a given night. So, but
Absolutely,
but
absolutely.
what?
And Tri Central is not a pushover either.
No, true.
That's always a team. No matter that's one of those teams you never worry about what their record is. You just know you might beat them, but it's going to be tough. I mean, you're gonna walk
Yes,
out with some bruises, and you're going to really earn it.
that's right. By the way, in that stretch, they also beat Connorsville, Northeastern. Remember, gave Northeastern its first loss of the
Mm.
season.
That's
Eastern
right. I was there for
Hancock.
that one.
A win at Eastern Hancock is a nice win. Oak Hill, really
Oak
nice
Hill's a
win
nice
there.
win.
So yeah,
Mhm.
so at Alexandria, always a tough place, and they've done that twice. So um, you know, I heard a little bit of grumbling coming from Lapel early in the season after the Monroe Central loss.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think that kind of sounds silly now, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think this team. I mean, you watch them play, and obviously the Judge brothers jump off the page at you what they can do, but they are
Depth,
really deep. I mean, they are
depth,
deep.
yeah,
They bring kids that you see in the JV game. They bring them in the second half, and they can shoot threes. Um,
yeah.
if they were allowed to have a big enough roster for varsity games, they probably dress 14 or 15 kids.
That's what
Quinn
Coach
Wilkins
Cherry's
is a
been saying. Yeah,
Quinn Wilkins is a phenomenal point guard type player, and Devin Craig, we know what he can do on the football field. He's just as effective on the basketball court, and just right down the line. Luke Jones is an underrated performer for them, and uh, brings some size to go along with Bodie Judge on the inside, and uh, I can go on and on. I mean, just they bring in kids and they come off the bench and shooting threes, and there's something in the water lapel.
yeah, that's right.
Year in and year out, they just are born out there shooting the ball. So yeah, they're a fun team to watch, and that's not a pushover Shenandoah team they beat tonight,
No,
and they manhandled them. I mean,
they
it was
manhandled them. I mean,
yeah, it was defense. They didn't let Shenandoah breathe on offense. I think Shenandoah had a couple little spots where they put together, 2-3 baskets in a row, but other than that, they couldn't string anything together. It was a pretty impressive Lapel performance.
Of course, we expected Lapel to win that game even on the road, but to do that by 25, that to win at Taylor the game before by 16, now at Shenandoah by
Mhm.
25, not just the wins, the way they're doing it.
Right, yeah, and like you said, on the road, and they're gonna go home and play Winchester. They got Newcastle at home later in the year, and this is a team that's really trending in the right direction come postseason. And I think they're before maybe the last week or so. I think the one big interesting sectional, or the most interesting sectional for the boys side, was going to be that 4A sectional over at Muncie Central, where you'd have Anderson and Greenfield Central and Mount Vernon in that group. That sectional at Frankton is heating up. I mean, it looks
Yeah.
like there's going to be a lot of good matchups. That draw is going to be vital.
Who played well for Lapel tonight?
The Judge twins, well, really up and down the roster. The Judge twins, Bodie had 18 and Brody scores 17. Brody got heated up, I think he scored 10 points in the third quarter. Bodie was pretty steady throughout. Devin Craig scored 10. Also, I think Devin Craig even led the team in rebounds with 7. So Quinn Wilkins had a nice game, just up and down the roster. They all contribute. Owen Garber's a kid, kind of getting into that depth. I think he's probably about their third player off the bench, and he comes in, and I think the first 3 plays he made, he hits a 3-pointer, and then he assists on 2 more 3-pointers. That was the first 3 times he touched the ball. I mean, that's literally instant offense coming off the bench. So
Again, the last couple of weeks, that's a player that Coach Cherry has just really been excited about.
Yeah, that's something when the coach is, first person he wants to talk about is like their third or fourth guy off the bench.
That's
and
right. Yeah.
He really stresses that depth, and I think they're all playing with confidence, and that's kind of what happened tonight. They and Coach Ellsworth at Shenandoah talked about this, was they didn't defend Lapel real well early, and when you get a team that's hot and they hit those first couple shots, and then they don't feel like they're going to miss the rest of the game. And I think they made 7 of 11 in the first quarter. They got that confidence going early, and then it just kept right on going throughout.
We talk with Coach Cherry a lot. I watch a lot of Lapel games. Don't know much about Shenandoah. Obviously, there weren't a lot of highlights tonight, but tell me a little bit about this Shenandoah team.
This is a team that could shoot the 3-pointer really well. They've got a little bit of size. They're a scrappy team. They're tough. They don't quit. One thing that Lapel took away from them tonight was that 3-point shot. They didn't hit a single 3-point bucket until pretty late in the fourth quarter. The game was already decided. So Aiden Coffey's having a phenomenal year at junior guard. I think he's averaging about 16 a game. Was really limited tonight. Lapel was really effective at taking him away. But, again, a Cannon Case is a kid who can – he led him in scoring tonight with 7, so that tells you a little bit about
Exactly. Yeah.
They
when you score 35 or 37, there are a lot of high scorers.
Right. He could score. Maddox Davis is a kid who hit a couple threes. Zane Mitchell really is the engine for the team. He's a point guard. He averages about 7 assists per game. Really is unselfish. Doesn't really look to score a ton. He can shoot it, but looks to get others involved.
And their sectional is winnable as well. Northeastern is very good, clearly the favorite. But Shenandoah plays well, and they played them within 6 points the first time too. So,
Right, and that's a rivalry game. I think that's one of those that
yeah.
you don't necessarily worry too much about what the records are. You kind of look at what the bracket looks like. Who do they play first? Do they play in the first round, or are those two on opposite sides of the bracket? And then you look at whose road to get to the championship game is tougher, who's going to have legs left Saturday night, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of things that go into those draws, and we'll find that out in a couple weeks here. For a week, is it a week from tomorrow?
A week from tomorrow, yeah, that's right. Again, Northeastern is the favorite, but I will not be surprised at all if Shenandoah is the team that comes out of that section.
Yeah, I think they'll be competitive in that sectional for sure, which is interestingly being held at Hagerstown, the same site they held the girls, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, interesting. That didn't happen very often.
You don't always see it. Newcastle a lot of times, but you don't necessarily see a whole lot of sites hosting both the boys and girls sectional.
By the way, Centerville is also very good, and they've got
Yes,
a very good young team that's going to be good for a long time.
absolutely.
Okay, and tell me about what's going on tomorrow, Rob. I know it's going to be a busy day. Where are you going to be?
I
Unfortunately,
will.
the IHSA did not do you any favors.
No, and I didn't really expect with two of our sectional champions in the South. I knew it was going to be some tough sledding getting out, but yeah, I'll be with the Alexandria Tigers tomorrow up in Caston, which is it's a little bit of a haul from LA, but it's actually about equidistant from Rensselaer Central as well. So,
Mm, that's,
and in all fairness, it is actually a pretty neutral site in between the two. So,
yeah.
I'll be up there. I'll have coverage of that game starting at 4 o'clock, and then our good friend Rich Torres will be with the Pendletonites Arabians down at Decatur Central at 1 o'clock, and Phil Beebe will have coverage from Southmont for the Anderson Prep Jets as they take on Greenwood Christian Academy.
Well, Rob, you're the best I've ever seen at your job in tweeting out results and keeping people updated. Tomorrow, I assume you'll be tweeting wrestling and all that as well.
I'm gonna try. That wrestling's gonna be tough because it takes place in the morning. I'm gonna drive up pretty early. I plan on being up there when they open the doors. So I'll be sitting through that first game at Caston, but I want to be at my computer terminal and then eyeing what's going on at the other two games. And,
Exactly, but
uh, you
you
know,
will definitely be retweeting because you
oh, for
also are
sure.
great at that. If anybody has any questions about what's going on in Central Indiana, Rob Hunt in Madison County is your guy.
Yeah, I'll be logging on to track wrestling and seeing see if maybe an Ezra Phi or Trip Hazley can maybe win that semi-state and head down to the state finals and see if we
Mm.
get a few other guys out. And
Boston.
Alexandria, of course, has a
Want to
what's
shout
that?
out to Boston Caudell and
Oh yeah,
Jonah Ellis and Ty Everson. Very cool guys. I hope they wish them success tomorrow. All of our wrestlers.
yeah, absolutely. Alex Heineman and those guys at Pendleton Heights. So many of these guys have had great years. And boy, semi-state is so tough, right? I mean,
Yes, it
there
is.
are no slouches there. Caden
No.
Simpson at Elwood's another kid we'd love to see
Mm,
get out. And,
mm.
they get to semi-state, man. There are just no off matches. You got to win two
You have to win too.
to
That's
advance.
it's
So
the toughest
that's
day that
so
there
hard.
is probably in
Yeah, and
wrestling.
I pointed out this out the other day. I mean, I remember, I believe his name was Max Nasalroad there at Alexandria recently, 2 years in a row. Uh, one sectional, one regional, was an undefeated wrestler, got to semi-state and did not get out. I mean, that is how tough that stage is. Just anything can happen, one slip up and you're going home. So we'll be hoping to open some of these kids because they're a fun group. I mean, these are guys we enjoy talking to, and they really care about their sport. They're as passionate as any athlete out there about their sport, and
Absolutely.
uh, we definitely want to see as many of these guys succeed as possible.
And the best fans as well.
They're pretty darn passionate. They are
Yes, they
loud. I
are.
mean, I think if the only one that rivals it really is if you go to a big time swim meet
Ooh, those get
where
loud.
if it's HSC and Fishers and Carmel and Noblesville and some of those really great teams,
Mm,
man, it is loud. It
yes, it
is
is.
loud. A
All
lot of
right.
fun. A lot of fun.
Lot of fun.
There was another interesting result tonight on the boys' side that kind of indirectly might have an effect on an area team. That would be that Lawrence Central Greenfield Central game. Lawrence Central, who Anderson beat earlier this year, knocked off Greenfield today.
That's right. Yeah, saw that.
And so that suddenly makes that 4A
Dominated.
sectional over months. Yeah, beat them by 9, which,
They
and Anderson beat Lawrence Central by 7.
Well, Lawrence Central
Um,
had a double-digit lead almost the entire game in that one.
yeah. So that I thought I just saw that come across, and I thought that's kind of interesting. Does that, is Greenfield the prohibitive favorite? Maybe it'll be a little more interesting than some people thought.
I definitely wouldn't say prohibitive.
And Damian King, 41 points tonight for you.
41 points. Yeah,
Now, I don't know anything about George Washington, but 41 points is 41 points.
that is correct. And
What a great player he is. What a great player he's been all for 4 years now at Anderson.
been a lot of fun watching him this year.
Absolutely.
And it's been a lot of fun doing podcasts with Rob this year. Thank you so much to him as always. Have not been disappointed in him joining the podcast a single time. And thank you for listening. Please do us a huge favor and go subscribe to our channel at YouTube. Even if you are already following us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, please go over to YouTube and subscribe. Just search Central Indiana Sports Report. It's easy to find. We're going to start doing some really cool stuff with videos and all of our podcast stream there as well. So everything in one place. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And this fella here, Greg, he loves Susie.